Thomas here with Majora. I'm going to give you another how-to video. Today I am going to try and tackle a lot of stuff, and this video will still not be finished. I am going to sculpt, I am going to mold, I am going to cast, I am going to paint 8 different masks. Yeah. They're going to be miniature versions, but I thought because I've been doing several Zelda-themed things as of late because of my Viking cosplay, I thought why not do some little miniature mask builds just for fun, and I wanted to have an opportunity to try out some of those mold kits that you see advertised on Amazon to see if they were worth the money, if they're comparable to the other stuff. Price-wise, does it really make that much of a difference? So I'm going to attempt to try 4 different kits and hopefully get good pulls from all of them, all using the same resin to cast it in. So today we are going to sculpt, mold, cast, and paint 8 masks from the video game Majora's Mask. Yeah, it's going to be a busy build. Let's get to building. I was doing a little bit of clay sculpting with my students in class and knocked out these 2 masks as we were learning about polymer clay. I got this Sculpey at a local hobby store and was really happy with how these 2 turned out, so I decided to do another, then another, and another, and before I knew it I had 8 of them. I find a couple reference images and then start by bulking out the basic shape and foil. This will keep me from using too much of my clay and help it cook a little faster than if it was a solid piece. I kneaded the clay a little to soften it up and then roll it out to make a sheet to push over the foil base. Then using various clay shaping tools and my hands, I try to shape it as close as possible to the reference images. I follow this same process with all the other sculpts. I also want to go ahead and point out that not all of my models were from the same release. I just kind of picked the ones that I like the most, mixing and matching my set. So some come from the N64, some may come from the 3DS release. I got my tools all from Amazon and a couple of various packs. You can just search clay sculpting tools to find cheap bulk packs. When I got the shape I wanted, I brushed off the surface with some isopropyl alcohol to get rid of my fingerprints and smooth over the surface just a little bit. Then I took a couple pointed tools to carve out various cracks on my stone mask. I believe my reference images are based off of the Nintendo 3DS and not the original N64 version. It's a little bit less detailed. Once all the details are in, I heat my oven to 275 and cook them for about 25 minutes or so. After a few days of sculpting and baking, I have 8 models that I am relatively pleased with. I went ahead and sanded them, smoothing out areas that I needed to, and maybe carved a couple of parts where I needed to make a few corrections. Now it's time to make boxes for the mold pours. I'm using some corrugated plastic that I had left over from a commission work that I did a few years ago. I cut out the size needed to fit the base of the mask, then cut strips high enough for my walls. Then it is as simple as gluing together boxes, making sure to reinforce the seams on the inside and outside with hot glue so they do not leak. I don't know how helpful this comparison is gonna be, but I got prices by ounces compared, work times, cure times, and they're all a 1-to-1 mixture ratio by volume, so you don't really need a scale. Prices are all as of April 2022. They all go on sale from time to time, so you can definitely be on the lookout and grab them for a little bit cheaper here and there. You can also buy them in bigger quantities or directly from the seller manufacturers to sometimes get better prices. I only dabble in molds, so these kits are a little less stressful than buying, say, a $200-300 plus container. So if I mess up or I don't have enough or whatever, I can always just get one of these little kits to fill in what I need. Time to pull apart the boxes and see how they did. I waited until the next day for all of them just to be safe, but most of them were cured by the time I went to sleep. So the Smooth On and BB Dino are fairly rigid. Technically the Smooth On Rebound 25 is a brush on, but you can also do shallow pours if you need to. Let's Resin and Magic Fly are very similar and much softer than the two colored ones. All of them turned out pretty good with few bubbles and other blemishes. After cleanup from the flashing where it seeped under the mask, I was ready to cast. Huzzah! For my resin pour for all of them, I'm using some Smooth Cast 300. It is a 1-to-1 ratio, mixes clear and solidifies to a white color. There is a thermal reaction that happens which can make the cast get really hot. Wear gloves and protective gear with all the chemicals. I also wear a respirator and face shield while I'm doing this to protect my eyes and face from any splashes that could occur. I put down a little in all of them and spread them around to make sure that it gets down into the details. Then I backfill them with a second pour. All the molds have mold release in them already. You have to work quick with this stuff as it has a work time of just a couple of minutes and fully curing in 7 to 10. Now time to see if everything worked. Did my mold have any imperfections? Will the cast be clean? Did the various kits hold up to the heat from the reaction? Fingers crossed. They surprisingly all turned out really good. No major blemishes or cleanup really needed. I cast 2 sets of them and will paint one of them along with the polymer clay originals. The other resin cast may go up on my Etsy shop or maybe end up as something else later on, or a Christmas ornament, or maybe a present for a family member or something. I don't know. Two coats of automotive filler to act as a base coat. I did a spray paint base coat color for all of them to get it a little bit closer to the end color, so I didn't have to paint as much by hand. All the masks from this point got hand painted. I used several different techniques to get the desired effect. For the Blast and Zora mask, I covered them in a darker color and dabbed off some with a paper towel to get myself a nice texture on them. I might have took a few artistic liberties with my paint jobs on some of these. Some of the mask menu models were different colors when Link puts them on, which was a bit confusing, so I decided just get it kind of within the ballpark and paint it however I wanted to. So some are true to game, some are not. It will all be okay. For the Keaton, Deku, and Stone mask, I used a dry brush technique with the Applied Effects acrylic paint. They each had a lighter color pulled across the high points. All you have to really do is load your brush up, wipe most of it off with a paper towel, and then drag it across the surface lightly. I made 3 passes with each of them, each getting a little white added to the mix with less and less force and coverage on the surface area as I got lighter.
The Mask of Truth, Couples, and Majora's Mask just got coated in various colors. The Couples mask in the game is a bit iridescent, that's the middle window here, so I just coated it a couple times with some folk art dragonfly glaze to make it shine. It kind of has a shift between 2 or 3 colors. The largest screen has the Mask of Truth and the smallest is Majora's Mask. Both were very tedious to paint the sides of those little raised areas. The 2 Majora's masks took as much time to paint as the rest of them did combined. There are so many colors and patterns and all kinds of other small details on them, especially when I've made the mask this small.
And we are finished. It was a lot of work to do all of that in one video, and I didn't want to try and crowd another thing into the video, so I thought, why not make a display, or at least show you 2 different ways to display these things. So I'm going to do a separate video that will hopefully showcase these a little bit more and allow you to see different ideas and methods that you could approach to displaying something like this. I was pleasantly surprised with the resin cast that I got and was able to get some decent molds from those various kits. Ooh, nice catch. But overall, it wasn't too difficult. The instructions are very similar. It's usually 1-to-1 mixture, so it's not too extremely complicated. But it was very time consuming. This build has actually been in the works for well over 2 months or so now. It has been sitting in various stages, which is something I typically do when I lose interest or I get busy on something else, or a build takes a lot of time like this one did. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you learned something from it, and maybe it'll help you to make some smart purchases on Amazon when certain things come up for sale. But maybe you'll try and make some of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to make all these masks from a game that happened like, I don't know, 20 years ago, and make it look relatively cool and maybe in your own style on a few, but definitely iconic to say the least. Maybe you'll get some.
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these, tell them, much props. I'm going to let you wear Majora's Mask. Why not? Let's do it. Try not to break all these as I get them off of me. So, alright, get ready. You ready? You ready? There you go.
If you enjoy what I do here, please consider joining my Patreon. It really would help me to continue making builds and expand what I am able to do here on my YouTube channel. Come help me build a bigger, better, more creative community for everyone.